Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna jump right into this. I've been seeing this making its rounds, and everybody is talking about how Jordan Peterson utterly failed, and he shouldn't be talking about Christianity and blah 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 blah. I'm here to defend my boy. I'm here to defend Jordan Peterson. So I'm sorry to tell you, I'm here to defend him. I am here to defend him, y'all. Y'all might not understand why I'm defending him or how I could possibly defend him. If you've watched any of the others videos of people talking about him, you'd think there's nothing to defend, right? Okay, well, I have a different take about Jordan Peterson. And because I have a different take about Jordan Peterson, I also would have a different take about the way this particular forum was set up. I'm going to try my best to flesh out what I'm saying as easily and so I'm going to lay out the conflations first so that when we do step into this, we understand something. Um, Jordan Peterson is a philosopher. Okay. He is a psychologist. He is a brain dude. Okay. He operates in the realm of human reasoning, observable, observable human traits and actions. That is where he operates. Number two, he has never espoused being a Christian. Not once has he ever said he is a Christian. Okay? And so when you look at this particular clip of him, you have to go at this from a perspective of that. Okay? Thirdly, what he is also is a person functioning in the religious realm from the perspective of Catholicism. Catholicism. He was an atheist for a while there. He was an atheist for a while. And this is the thing, the reason they put him in the seat is because the conflation, this is part 4. The conflation that Catholics are Christian. What's up, Chris? That is how the world sees Catholicism. Which is why I try to tell people, I do not care how much you think they are not. The entirety of Catholicism is completely contrary to Christianity. They listen to or adhere to some of the traits of Christianity, but they are not a Christian religion. I hope people understand, which I never will call a Catholic a Christian. But the world will conflate the two. They will look at a Catholic and say Christian. They are not. They are not Christian. So when the world brought him in because he is studying Catholicism, they thought they had a Christian there. Okay? So when he gets schooled, he's not getting schooled by people attacking Christianity. He really is getting schooled on his Catholicism. That's it. Nothing more. Okay? Nothing more. Now, what I also believe about Jordan is this. Jordan is in a very, very, very delicate location when it comes to his walk. Okay? And I mean very, very delicate. Do I believe he's seeking God? Yes. I believe that he is seeking to find something to settle his mind on. Jordan's problem, though, is that he's too intellectual with it. And this is the same reason I try to tell people I'm not going to ever try to find God in certain kinds of man's reasoning. Atheists want to do this. People say, well, you need to use science. No, I don't need to use science to find God. I need to believe certain things about the earth to find God. I do not. That is the problem with mankind. We want to put God into this knowable box. Not possible. The closest Jordan got to really getting, and this is what I think what started his journey into religion, which is where I think he is. He's not in relationship, he's in religion, is this clip right here. This was when I first saw a crack in his knowledge armor, and he started to let in that belief in something. And he gets tackled with that whole idea of belief in this particular thing too. We'll get into that. But I just want to flesh this out first before we jump into the debate.
So, okay, so you can think about Christ from a psychological perspective, and the critic, my critic, this particular critic that I've been reading, said, well, that doesn't differentiate Christ much from a whole sequence of dying and resurrecting mythological gods. And of course, people have made that claim in comparative religion. Joseph Campbell did that, and Jung to a lesser degree, I would say, but Campbell did that. But the difference, and C.S. Lewis pointed this out as well, the difference between those mythological gods and Christ was that there's a representation of, there's a historical representation of his existence as well.
And again, Jordan, all here, okay? Schooled, brain. He could work his way around the room and systematically break people down to their core thought value. What he has not yet grasped is relationship. But in this clip, you see him struggling to make the human mind, meet God. It's not going to be possible, but he's trying. And what he encounters is an absolute brick wall, and he just busts himself up completely against this wall. When I tell you Jordan runs headlong into it and destroys himself, and he doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't know what to do with it. So what he decided to do after this clip was go into what? A knowledge-based idea of God. The best field for that? Catholicism. The very best religion to ever enter into when you're trying to make a knowledge-based assessment of God is Catholicism. It's rife with it. So it makes sense that he would go into it. Let him continue, though.
Now, you can debate whether or not that's genuine. You can debate about whether or not he actually lived and whether there's credible objective evidence for that, but it doesn't matter in some sense because it does, but there's a sense in which it doesn't matter because there's still a historical story. And so what you have in the figure of Christ is an actual person who actually lived, plus a myth. And in some sense, Christ is the union of those two things. The problem is I probably believe that, but I don't know. I'm amazed at my own belief, and I don't understand it.
He's amazed at his own belief, and he doesn't understand. You see what he says? He doesn't understand it. And up creeps this brick reinforced wall in front of his intellect to try and unionize what he thinks he knows to the person of Christ and what he actually did. This is why you will never be able to do this with Catholicism. They do not allow for you to bridge that gap. And I do not care how many well-meaning Catholics there are out there. The religion itself, if you are going to tie yourself to it by name, limits that concept completely. By its very nature, it eliminates that option. Okay, cool. Now watch what happens to him in his reckoning of his mind, the human mind, to this person of Christ, knowing what he's already read about him?
Like, because I've seen.
Right here, he is struggling. And it's not a bad struggle, but it's an uncommon struggle for him. This is not a struggle he is familiar with. This is completely uncharted territory for Jordan right here. He is met with something that he has never fought with before. He's fighting with what his soul is telling him about himself, because God has already told him, this is who you are before me. And he's struggling to try and make it make sense to him. The brain is fighting this tooth and nail.
Sometimes the objective world,
right,
and the narrative world touch. You know, that's Jungian synchronicity.
Still trying to make sense of it.
And I've seen that many times in my own life. And so in some sense, I believe it's undeniable. You know, we have a narrative sense of the world. For me, that's been the world of morality. That's the world that tells us how to act. It's real. Like, we treat it like it's real. It's not the objective world, but the narrative and the objective world touch. And the ultimate example of that in principle is supposed to be Christ. But I don't know what to, that seems to me oddly plausible.
Yeah.
But I still don't know what to make of it. It's too, partly because it's too terrifying a reality to fully believe. I don't even know what would.
There you go. And there you go. That's where I want him to stop, right there. It's too terrifying to believe. What's terrifying to him is that all my knowledge will never explain Christ. All of my research, all of my psychology, all of the things I deal with the human mind will never explain Christ. So what is the best place for me to live without having to do and deal with that belief? Catholicism. Now, in Catholicism, I don't have to say I'm a Christian. I also don't have to say I'm not a Christian. But I can make people believe I'm a Christian because I'm in at least a religion that is associated with Christian. So he's called to this panel. He is called to this panel as a Christian. The problem is, he's not one. The problem is, he's not one. So, with that in mind, having broken down who Jordan is, the interactions you're about to see might make a little more sense to you. It might make a little more sense to you as to why people believe he failed. But technically, Jordan failed long before he stepped foot in this arena. Jordan was never supposed to pass because Jordan was speaking on something that is not his. He was still trying to reason his way around this entity of God on an atheistic level. And we've talked about atheists this week here. But it'll also prove to you something as to why you'd never talk to an atheist on the reasonings of God. This is why he'll prove to you why you can't eat. Now remember this. He is dealing with atheists on their own level because they don't believe. Okay, remember this. And even in their questioning, you'll see the condescension because they're not looking for the answer of truth. They're looking for an answer that will give them something to reason through. But Jordan's already proven you can't reason through Christ. The options don't make sense. It is folly to man. The ways of God are folly to man, which is why our reasoning will never bring us to him. And I mean a true knowledge of him. We have to park knowledge. We have to park our intellect. We have to park what we think we know. Now, after we've known him, our intellect might help us explain it to certain people. But even then, there's a point where you have to tell them, but in all that, it takes belief. And belief does not require intellect. Okay? It does not require years of study. It doesn't require a degree at all. Okay, Cool. So here he goes.
Atheists reject God, but they don't understand what they're rejecting.
That's his claim. That is his claim to the group of 20. So now they're going to come up to try and defend that point of view of that's not true. You would understand what we do believe or not believe. Okay, so here we go.
Good afternoon, Dr. Peterson.
How are you doing?
So this claim here that atheists don't know what they're rejecting. My background is in studying to become a traditional Catholic priest, daily mass, daily rosary, going on long retreats, deep into the magisterium and biblical hermeneutics. Like I was thoroughly in it. And it seems like I do know what I'm missing. Is there something that I missed over years of study, both this issue formally and living out religion so deeply?
Anybody see the problem so far? Anybody yet catch what he just did as him saying he knows about God? Please tell me you caught it. He is no different than Jordan. They are both in the same boat, just on opposite ends of the boat. And the boat ain't going nowhere. The boat just stuck in the water, but because one thinks he's closer to one side than the other, they think they're going opposite directions, but they're in the same boat going nowhere. Okay? Hermeneutics and the history and the talk of the book and the book and learn and religion. But he says he knows God. No. He knows of God. He knows of God. Not knows him. Right off the top, and Jordan doesn't catch this because Jordan's in the same boat. Jordan doesn't catch this because he's in the same boat. He didn't ask him anything along the lines of, wait a minute, that's what you think? You're proving my point. You don't know the God that you're rejecting. What you do know is an of God. Therein lies the problem. It is not that Jordan failed. It is because the situation implied that Jordan was even knowledgeable about it. None of the people on the panel, the 20 nor Jordan, know anything about what Christianity is. They have an idea about religion, and they've conflated religion with Christianity, and now everybody in that room is on the same boat, opposite end, port and stern. And they have no idea where they are in the ocean. They just know they're on the same boat on opposite ends of it.
Well, you obviously feel that you missed something when you were practicing for the priesthood. Your aim was off then. So there's always the possibility that it's still off now.
What was off about my aim in the first place?
I don't know. That might take a long time to figure out.
But then it seems kind of like this no true Scotsman type of fallacy in which you're the arbiter of people's aims and how they understand those aims to be.
No, he's judging your aims because you left it. If you were aiming for something and you know for a fact that is what you want, but it became something you didn't want, then your aim was off because you didn't really analyze what you wanted. You get what I'm saying? Like you seem to be saying something, but you're not really saying a whole lot. You were unsure about your aims. And when you were talking about going at it, you weren't even sure that you were right about going for it or the reasons you were going for it. So yes, he's right that your aim was off. So if your aim was off once, could your aim be off again? Again, this is an intellectual conversation that they're having, not a spiritual one. That's all the problem is here. They're both floundering around in the word soup and in the history and in the psychology, but they're refusing to touch on one very important thing, and that's the relational.
How is it that you can claim that people don't know something that you know about their life despite not having met them?
Well, it's obviously a generic claim, just like the atheist claim that there's no God is a generic claim. In your case, it would have to be specified more, and I'm not claiming to understand what was going on in your mind, but my experience with atheists is twofold. is that they have a very reductive notion of what constitutes God, let's say in the Judeo-Christian tradition. And they've often been hurt by someone who was religious or by the religious enterprise or perhaps by God himself, so to speak, and that's left them with an animus.
100% accurate, logical explanation of an atheist. Very logical. Very logical. Somebody hurt you. You were not convinced, or somebody somewhere along the lines were misconstrued about the way they were thinking. 100% accurate, truth, all true. Any atheist telling you no is lying to themselves and to you. Either God pissed them off with the rules that he had, God upset them by something that they thought they could get, didn't get. When they were investigating, it didn't fit what narrative they wanted. Or they just don't understand Christianity and God himself. Okay? So what these people really are saying to each other is that they're circle fighting amongst each other to find out who has the more accurate description of an atheist. That's really what this is.
But I think that you have a reductive view of what atheism is. You've defined religion so broadly to include any sort of having aim in life, any sort of cultural archetypes, or having a metaphorical substrate. And atheism to you is a very specific type of like three people in the world that are these Raskolnikov type of, they want to get away with a perfect murder. It seems like you have the reductive view of what an atheist is.
Well, let's start with your claim. How do you define the God that you're rejecting? Like, what is God to you? You studied in the church, you found that unsatisfactory. How would you characterize what you rejected?
Good. Very good question. I mean, I love the questions. I'm not going to lie. I love Jordan's questions. I do love his questions. The reason I love his questions is because you can see on his face, he has the same questions. He has the same questions. Except Jordan is a little further along in his explanation of his questions and his answer. That's the biggest difference. Jordan has the same question, but in his mind, God to him is what he's read about, not encountered. The closest he got was to this reckoning of this all-powerful and have to believe in everything entity, and it is too terrifying for him. He said that himself. So the question he is asking is really one that he's still battling with, which is why he's looking the way he's looking. Okay. I believe, now this is just my belief, I believe the reason that he is so edgy this whole conversation is not just that he wasn't comfortable, which he wasn't, but I think he, in his mind, he's heralding back to the fact that I have not fully wrestled with this. I have not fully fleshed this out in my own world. And technically, I'm not only fighting an atheist, I'm fighting myself.
I think the average Christian believer, when they say that they're Christian and they believe, they mean some sort of God that is all powerful, all perfect, is somehow involved in the matters of this world, and that we look to them through wisdom and with Logos incarnate in Christ. And it also seems like you don't believe in religion in the way that the average Christian says that they believe in religion.
Now, let me ask those of you out there, is that our view of God? Is that how you think of God when you say, why I believe in God? I can tell you right off the top why I believe in God. I believe in God because I saw myself before an ever-living and everlasting God that decided to find a way for me to be reconciled with him. I don't look at him as, oh, I follow him because he's all-knowing, all-powerful, omniscient, everywhere, all the time. That might be true about him, but that is not why I believe in him. I believe that of him, that's what he is, no doubt. But why do I believe in him? I believe in him because I saw what I was. I saw who he is in terms of his nature towards me. And I believed that I deserved death. And I believed that he made a way for me to not die. So I believe him. And everything he has to offer me, I believe 100% all the way through. But it doesn't have to do with this foundation of he's omniscient, omnipotent. He's that whether or not I believe it or not. He's that way whether I believe it or not. But when you look at the way people interpret him, God, it is always boxable. Always boxable. They have to box God up and a packaged him kind of, this is him. He is bam, 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 bam. Okay.
And there are as many gods out there as there are believers, because everybody has mutually exclusive and different views of what God is.
And therein lies the problem. That's what they believe, which is why they can't believe in a God, because they've convinced themselves that everybody out there believes in a different kind of God based on where they are. But what does God require of us, really? Does he require that we have a different view than our brother and sister about who he is? Or are we having a different journey based on where we are, but not on him? He never changes. If we believe in the God never changes. And I think this is where people, atheists, have a problem. Well, I've met Christians. I don't care what Christians you've met, bro. That doesn't negate the fact that God never changes. People might, but God don't change. I don't get how this is difficult. He doesn't change. I can take my viewpoints anyhow I want, but that's not who he is. That's what I believe. And it might differ from John and James and Jacqueline, but it's not true of him. It's just true of my belief of him, but it might be an absolutely off base belief. Here are biblical facts about God. You don't have any control over him. Biblically, fact 1. 2, we are dust before him. Biblical fact number 3, even in that, he created a pathway for us to be reconciled with him. Biblical fact. And biblical fact number 4, it does not require me to be a knowledgeable person. It requires me to give up myself and die to self and take up his life. That is all. We want to overcomplicate God because we want to have a hierarchy for ourselves as to how much better I am than Sister Susie sells a lot, and we want to be better than her, so we have a different intellectual capacity than it. No. The atheist won't get it because the atheist is running from relationship.
So it seems
Well,
like
if everybody had mutually exclusive views of what God is, no one could speak to each other.
Facts.
The mere fact of communication presumes a commonality of assumption and definition. And it's certainly not the case that I regard any archetypal manifestation whatsoever as equally religious. So that's not a real claim. Let me give you an example. For example, here's a sub-narrative in the story of Moses where Moses is rewarded with a glimpse of God. And that's one of the ways that God is characterized in the Old Testament stories.
yes.
Now, Moses is a faithful servant of God and a good man. At least that's the case within the confines of the story.
One possible interpretation.
Do you see why I say you can't reason with an atheist? Do you see why I say you can't reason with an atheist? Yeah, that's one possible interpretation because he wants to hold on to what he believes. There is no reasoning with an atheist. They don't wait for you to flesh out your reason for what you're saying. They jump into it to inject their thought so they can keep their thought process to themselves. Now, it's never said that Moses was a good man, just FYI. So,
Case within the confines of the story, obviously.
Obviously. When we look at the Bible can't precisely say anything because there are so many different exegetical and hermeneutic views of this particular book, and that everybody has everybody has disagreed historically on, it seems like, even the most benign detail about a book this big. And it seems like you can only say that the Bible says something if you first presuppose that it's univocal.
that is what we like to call a word salad. That is a Kamalaism, okay? All of that to just simply say, I don't believe the Bible. You see how simple that was, Mr. Cap? All you have to say is, I don't believe the Bible. Just say that. I don't believe it. I don't believe the Bible. For me, the Bible ain't believable. So I can't take anything from it as solid. There you go. I just broke down your massive big brain statement into what everybody already heard you say. I don't believe the Bible, so don't bring that up to me. So remember, they don't believe the Bible. The Bible is our only way to actually know. And if you don't know and believe those two, then how am I going to tell you about who God is? You see the problem? Do you see the problem? If you reject the word, then how are you going to know him? I can't have him without the word. But if you reject one, but you want to know about the other, then you'll never understand the other because you don't want the first. There you go. Can't reason with an atheist.
So your claim essentially is that Moses in the Old Testament plays the role of a villain or is irrelevant? Because the alternative claim
I'm
is
saying that we
he's
can't
good.
know because we can't talk to those authors.
If you are going to start with the presupposition that there's nothing I can say about any of these stories that you're not going to disagree with from the perspective that there are multiple potential competing claims, then I can't speak with you. So
exactly. And even Jordan, this is why he's on the other end of the book. Even Jordan understands that I can't make you understand something that you're not willing to dive into with me. That's like reading a book. You read a book, I read a book. Or better yet, I have the book and you have the same book, okay? Not my book, but a copy of my book. And so here you have a copy, I have a copy. We both have the same book. Cool. So then I decide to read. And I said, hey, would you look at that line in the second paragraph in chapter 2? And you say, I don't believe this book anyway. Why would I read what you're reading? Well, I'm just trying to show you something in the book. I don't want to read that. But we're here for a book discussion. I know, but I don't want to read the book. So how are we going to have a book discussion if you don't want to read the book? I don't believe the book. Yeah, okay, I get you don't believe the book, but let's participate in the book. Nope, not going to do it. Okay, then we have nothing to discuss. We're here to discuss the book, but you don't want to discuss the book because you don't believe the book. Then I can't get you into the book. So why are we here? Why are we talking? Why are we talking? It's just weird to me that they're having this argument over something that the person has already said they don't want anything to do with. But yet they're asking for an explanation about it. Okay, so here's a good question. And why are you so sure that the Bible is correct and it is actually from God? Because I have read it and I have seen no contradictions to salvation. There's your answer. I have read it and I have seen no contradictions to salvation. And everything that salvation is mentioned about is reflected even in the old scriptures. That's why I believe the Bible is accurate and why I am so sure that it is from God. Now, remember, you asked me why I'm so sure. That's why you said me. Okay? I'm not answering for nobody else but me. There's my answer. Cool.
We also have a short time here, so I want to get to the core of what you're arguing here, and I'd love if we could.
The core of what I'm arguing is that atheists reject God, but they don't understand what they're rejecting. So I'm trying to give you an example of what's being rejected and its complexity. Okay, so God rewards Moses with a glimpse of the divine. So this is a definition of the God that atheists are hypothetically rejecting.
A possible one.
I said I didn't say the.
Now, the fact that Jordan has to explain that tells you what? What is the atheist not doing? Name the one thing that most atheists will never really fully do. Listen. Because they're coming at this with their own bias to the point where they don't really want to know. They don't want to know the answer. They have an answer in their own mind, and they're looking for a way to debunk your answer to fit their belief. Okay, cool.
I know.
said,
That
right.
is possible, yes.
Okay. So despite the fact that Moses is a stellar character and he's had a long and difficult life and can withstand a lot of difficulty and travail, God puts him between two cliffs. So he can just see a crack of what's in front of him. And when God walks by, he allows him to see his back. Okay, so the implication of that story is that the divine is fundamentally unknowable. It's a pinnacle experience, and that people in their finitude have to be shielded from a comprehensive vision of the basis of reality. Well, that's not the God that's defined in that manner, right? It's not a simple personification. It's not a simple old man in the sky. It's something that in its essence is unknowable and overwhelming. And that isn't, in my experience, the God that's defined by atheists who are attempting to undermine the story.
Perfect way to phrase it. That is a perfect way to phrase it. Not only is it unknowable, it's terrifyingly unknowable. And that is something he's already told us. No one knows his mind. We know in part. We've been told this throughout Scripture. You can't see his face. In his presence, all fall. There is something completely and utterly terrifying about this God. But that has to do with his purity and his judgment and his righteousness. We, as a human fallen race, cannot stand up to him. Not possible. The flags are for when they want to try and go next. Or if they have, I think it's for when they vote him out, he's done. They put up their flag and say, okay, you're done. You made your point, or your point is not being made well. So they hold up their flag. And when enough flags have gone up, his time is up. So he is not fully knowable, but he never asked us to fully know his entire nature. But he does ask us to recognize who we are fully before him. You see the difference? He wants you to acknowledge your inadequacy before him. Because mankind has a tendency, just like this atheist is proving out, that we are good enough. We're better than the next. God has to show us you ain't any better. And before me, you're definitely nothing. You bring nothing to this relationship, but when you get here, you will have me.
I mean, it's the same claim, for example, that you're a finite creature and that you face something that in the final analysis is unknowable, and that you have to establish a relationship with it regardless of your inability to perceive or even withstand perceiving the whole.
And Jordan isn't even there yet. But he does get that right. You have to enter into that relationship with it. You have to interact with it. And you can do that without knowing the whole. In fact, not knowing the whole is the intrigue. Knowing you could never swim the depths of God means that from now till the day you die, you will keep learning something new about him. That's the amazing, beautiful aspect of the relationship with God, that you ain't gonna ever swim the depths to the point where you touch bottom. See, for one who's seen his state and one who is pursuing knowing the person that saved him from where he was going to be, swimming that depths is amazingly fun. It's so fun. It's so awesome to be able to just swim and read something and then read it again and you get something else out of it. And you just keep getting, and there's no limit to the getting. Like there is so much there. Every day he has something else that he reveals about himself within the confines of your life. It is just mind-blowing. That's what the atheists are rejecting. In their effort to find all that knowledge, they're rejecting the everlasting pool of it. That's the psychotic part about atheism.
Okay, is there a problem with that?
I mean, the problem is that when we look at, famously, when you've been asked, do you believe in God? The question becomes, what do we mean by God? And in the Bible, it's not even clear if the biblical authors know what God is, because Yahweh has historically emerged from an early storm god, a deity that doesn't exhaust the category of deity, and that has changed over the Old Testament. Does God have physicality? Does God not have physicality?
The answer is yes. You see the problem with atheists? They want everything tangible, but even when it's tangible, they go to the, well, it could be, and it could be, and it could be. They don't want an answer to their dilemma. Their entire being is stuck on this contrast of dilemmas of not knowing and wanting to know, but not actually wanting to do the work to find out the knowledge of it. They love the limbo. They love the limbo. Especially if you read it 100 times looking for something else, then suddenly, exactly. And that, when that happens, bro, when that happens, oh my good, look, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. How many times have you read a passage, right? You read something and you read it and you come back to it, and it's like it comes back to your mind, and then all of a sudden something just goes like fireworks off in your head. And you get something literally brand spanking new out of it, but not contrary to who got it. Have you had that happen to you? Do you find yourself overwhelmed with it? Do you find yourself absolutely floored and bewildered and enamored and in shock and just basking in the fact that he just dropped that on you? I've had that happen multiple times, and it is one of the most things. Like you breathe, but you don't know what to do with yourself. You don't know what to do.
It seems like, yes, if you define religion to mean anybody that has an aim, anybody that looks at the unknown, anybody who wants to go from chaos to order is inherently religious, then yes. But also in the same way, I could define atheist as somebody who doesn't dogmatically believe in a religion, or somebody who doesn't regularly attend religious services or belong to a denomination. To help especially the audience kind of like boil this down, there was a lot of words there. That the central claim is that we exist somewhere between the finite and the infinite.
A central claim.
A central claim is that we exist somewhere between the finite and the infinite.
No, I said that we were finite and we had to establish a relationship with the infinite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big difference. What the atheist will do is put it on them. It's all about them. He just did it. Even though Jordan was very succinct and clear, he was not listening. They don't listen. They simply don't. So even if Jordan was a Christian complaining and telling them what to do, even if he understood it fully, he wouldn't make them understand.
Then in that case, then we're all religious, but then I can do the same thing and define one particular element of atheism. It seems like we both have a reductive view of what the other side looks like, to the point where a conversation seems incoherent, and not just incoherent, but not in the way that the average Christian understands Christianity to be.
Yeah, because y'all don't understand what Christianity is, not what it could be, and to be what it is. Because you've conflated the knowledge of man and what they think about God as Christianity. Here comes the part next.
Hey, Jordan Peterson. How you doing?
How you doing, man?
My name's Luke. Nice to meet
Good
you.
to see you, Luke.
So your claim that morality and purpose can only be found in science is a little shaky, because I think that your claim is really being framed to be morality and purpose can only be found in religion. Is that how you're kind of framing it?
I would say that the domain of religion is the domain of morality and purpose. Yes, exactly. And also that science is actually structured, at least in part technically, to eliminate such considerations from its purview a priori.
Okay.
Right? That's why we define science as value-free.
Mm-hmm.
But that has to be wrong, because scientists have to prioritize their attention towards something before they can even engage in observation.
Okay.
And that act of prioritization of attention is a value predicated act.
It's called purpose. I really appreciate the Matrix for this one reason. It is purpose. Purpose that drives us. Purpose that gives us worth. Purpose, Neo, purpose. And that is exactly what science needs. Science needs purpose. It needs purpose. They say they don't. They say they just investigate, but they really do need purpose. What they investigate has to have use to them. Whether that is use for knowledge, use for interaction, use for technology, it has to have a purpose. They don't want to admit that religion, if we want to put it like that, is the whole and all of the reasoning and using of purpose. All morality stems from God. They don't want to admit that. So they already start from a location that defies their very idea of science. They refuse the purpose, but ask about the purpose without the actual need. You get what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not phrasing it right. Let me see if I can phrase it better. Science will tell you that you don't need God because God is anti-science. But by the very definition of science, you need to have a purpose. Religion or Christianity gives you a purpose outside of yourself to work with that never changes, which is almost exactly what you would find as a perfect ground for science, an unchangeable, knowable foundation. Right? Cool. That's what science wants. What God offers you is unknowable, but the knowable is unknowable. That is the knowable part of Christianity. You already know going in that he is unknowable to the fullest extent. That's the basis of going in, which is why you need faith and belief to function in there. Based on your answer to my questions, couldn't a human author or a group of authors intentionally craft a consistent message about salvation, especially if they shared the same religious tradition? Of course they could. Why haven't they? Hear me out. How many centuries does the Bible cover? And how would the people that wrote it forever ago predict consistently to almost finite detail what is happening now? That is my question to you. How, if mankind could do it, are they not doing it now? That's one. And how would you explain the things written centuries upon centuries upon centuries ago that are now coming to fruition today? Explain that to me. If you can explain that to me, that'd be amazing. How would you get that many people to cooperate with it? Just tell me that. Anyway, this guy was not as interesting as the rest of them that you're going to see. And since I'm running on time, this is the one I really want to get to.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I guess since you
Now, for those of you who are unaware, this little soy boy, his name is Parker. Parker is the kind of individual that is, he likes to talk very fast. He likes to overtalk people, especially on his TikTok lives. He's friends with Harry Sisson and Dean, and they all seem to have this really overly effeminate reaction to each other. He's also been on record saying that he is not opposed to dating a trans woman. So in other words, Parker is gay. Parker does not want to come out saying that he's gay for fear of having other people. I think what he really is bi, but if you bi, you gay. Okay, so let's just be honest about that. He's still trying to play both sides of the field by trying to get women, but what he really wants is men. But he doesn't want to fully say that. So he isn't a complete, absolute mess, but he's trying to out-psychologize a psychologist. It doesn't go very well for him by psychologist means, because he's trying, what he does end up doing is proving Jordan's point, and it ends up going off the rails very quickly. Okay, very quickly. This is part of where they say Jordan lost.
You said morality and purpose cannot be found in science. It would just depend on like what you're referencing. If you're saying a description of your psychological preferences would be considered within science, sure. But I don't think that you have to say that it comes from science in order to be like an atheist. As an agnostic atheist, I don't know if God exists and I don't believe that a God exists. And the only ones that I would really reject would be like the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good, perfect notion of God that plenty of Christians like prescribe themselves. So I guess
How is that relevant to the?
Now, you notice what he said? He said he is an agnostic atheist, which means he doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe that one exists. And he said, and with the agnostic side, even if one exists, you can't fully be known. But in that statement, you've just made, you are fully an atheist. You're not agnostic because you've already disqualified a portion of a God right off the rip, which tells me you've arrived at the knowing portion. So you're no longer agnostic. For you to come straight out and say, I reject that version of God, already you've arrived at a conclusion which removes your agnostic side. You are now a full-blown atheist. That's what you really are. You don't know if it can be known, or if it is known, you don't know that. So already the point that you're agnostic is gone. You're an atheist, a full-blown, he does not exist. And regardless of how much it will, maybe there might be one, but it'll be one that you pick. Therein lies a problem. You've already decided one. You just don't want to say the one you've decided.
This claim.
You're basing a position of morality and purpose in some like notion of God that isn't the same type of notion of God that typical Christians would prescribe. Your notion of God is
what typical Christians?
Yeah, typically when I talk to Christians, they say that they believe in an all-knowing.
How about Cardinal Newman, who defined?
He's going to catch him in a fallacy here, because what Parker is trying to do is get everybody to agree with him because he thinks he knows something. Typical Christians, and he wants to put everybody in the same bracket as a Christian, right? All Christians are the same. But now he's being forced to break down his notion of what a Christian is.
And God is conscience. He's a major influence on all of Catholic social theory. How about that, Christian?
Sure. So do you believe in the all-knowing?
You see, not answering the question, and this is what atheists will do. What do you think about that, Christian? Well, do you believe? No. Listen, clown, answer my question. You come up here with the quick talk, fast. Answer my question. I just proposed to you a concept of another version of Christianity that proposes something that you say, you have one that you disagree with. This person, as a Christian, does not hold that view. What do you think about that person? Won't answer the question. Instantaneously tries to flip the conversation to something that he believes. See, unlike Jordan, I would have pressed him. No. We ain't going to a whole nother what I believe. I asked you a question. You answer my question. What would eventually ensue would be him laughing or screaming about something else. Well, no, answer my question. What do you think about that? Is it the same if you're going to class all Christians or even most Christians? What about this one? Since we want to get to the bottom of what you believe a Christian, you want to get my version of what I believe God is? Tell me what your version of Christianity is, since you want to hold Christianity to a certain type of God. Tell me what you think of Christianity. He will not answer that question. He never answers questions.
Knowing all powerful, all good notion of God.
What do you mean by believe?
And so Jordan does, again, quantifies everything. This is what they don't like, is nailing down terms, meanings. They hate that, absolutely hate it, because what it requires for them to do is to reason through their own platform and figure out whether or not they can describe where they actually are, and they can't. They have a overarching thought process that they hope that you will never try to break the seal of to get to the bottom. They hope that, but that's not what Jordan does. He goes to the psychologist side of his brain to try and break down meanings.
Do you think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean when you say you believe?
How is that circular?
You see, won't answer another question. What do you mean when you say believe? What do you mean by circular? No. You're not breaking down your first meaning to begin with. But now you want me to break down mine. This is why speaking with an atheist is almost completely pointless. They will want you to be reductive and also constructive at the same time. They want you to explain and not explain at the same time. They want you to talk and shut up at the same time. They are the most worthless people on this earth. Atheists, the most worthless people. When it comes to actual brain logic working through something, they refuse to do it themselves, but require everybody else to somehow have their foundation set in stone when they don't. They will use everybody else's logic when they have none of their own. They base their entire narrative on something that they don't know and are happy with it not knowing because they're still figuring it out. But you use that, all of a sudden, you're the one that has a misconstruing of your own belief.
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said, you think it to be true.
All right. So if
What's
you
a
believe
belief?
something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean
And that is factually true. Watch what he
by
says.
that?
You notice how Jordan's answering questions, right? And Parker can't? Okay, make sure you log that.
You live for it and you die for it. That's what I mean by that. It isn't something that you say. It isn't something that's associated with logical consistency. It's not declarative. It's not propositional. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's the presupposition of your attention and your action. And
Now remember what the topic of this is God, right? Not anything else, God. The topic is God. Remember that. Okay, cool.
you're either fragmented, in which case you worship multiple gods, or there's some unity at the bottom of it that makes you an unstoppable force.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
You see? And he makes it to something. We are talking about God, you moron. You useless, empty tool bag. We're talking about God, not just a random something. The context matters. The absolute context matters. You're coming to the table to speak about God, not some random belief in anything. We are talking about God. The availability of God, the knowledge of God, the existence of who? God. Not shoes, not a glass, not a coin. I'm not willing to die over a broken zipper. I am willing to die over the cause of Christ. There is a massive difference. But if Jordan had that relationship, he would understand where to go. Jordan doesn't have a relationship with Christ. He has a knowledge-based connection. It is a knowledge-based connection. I cannot hold Jordan responsible for these answers because he is not in a relational aspect with God. He is simply knowledgeable of this entity. It is not true to him down to his core where he has exchanged his life for the life of Christ. He has not done that yet. He has not done that yet. And until he does that, he will not be able to fully answer people like Parker, because Parker will be very disingenuous in his approach to things. We're talking about God. Now he has taken it off to some far left field tangent about random stuff. You'd put your life on the line for anything? No, goofy. For God, there's a big difference. People still write meaningful, life-changing things. That's not my question. Again, don't be like Parker. Answer my question, Gemma. Answer my question. When has mankind written anything akin to the Bible? Please stay focused. Answer the question. When has that happened? And for the love of God, do not even remotely think of telling me to calm down. Don't even think of typing that. Before me get ahead of you. My platform, my reaction, since you don't want to answer my questions. I'm not Jordan Peterson. I will flip out in a minute. Answer my question. When has any man done what the Bible has put together? Please explain that. Don't bring your condescending stupidity here. It's not going to fly. I asked a very specific parameters of questions. I didn't ask if man wrote something meaningful. I never asked you about meaningful. Don't be a dummy now. Answer my question. I know you like to go off on tangents. Answer my question. Y'all like to genuflect and divert. Typical stupidity. If you don't know the answer, then say you don't know. It's not bad to say you don't know, but you look like a moron when you answer something nobody asked. That tells me one of two things. You don't know how to logically go through your own argument, or you don't know how to listen. My suggestion, you back it up, use the two things on the side of your head, execute them fully before you open the thing in the center of your face or use the phalanges on the end of your hand. Answer the question. Not your question, the question. Don't be a stupid person. I'll just block you if you're not going to answer the question. You're being exactly like these morons on screen. And I don't understand the purpose of it. Either you're asking and you want to engage in this with actual critical thinking, with being genuine, and if you're not going to be genuine, I'm not going to talk to you. Answer my question. And don't ask me to repeat it. There's a little slider on YouTube that will back you all the way up to the question so you can listen to it again.
Not really, no.
Okay. So then,
How would you define belief? Something you say?
Okay, so I explain, like, I could believe it is the case that this pen exists, but if
You see where he goes to? The tangible, stupid stuff that has nothing to do with God. The belief in God is completely predicated on the fact that you don't and can't see him. The pen is right in front of you, Parker. Unlike, well, you could have probably picked something like your brain. Verbally, I can tell you don't possess one. But physically, I can look into an X-ray and say that you do. Now, whether the brain you have functions or not is completely based on what I hear you say. The possession of a thing does not mean you know how to use it. Okay, so you're not going to answer the question. Fine. You get one more shot to answer the question. You get one more shot to answer the question. Literally one more. You get one more shot to answer my question. I never ask you about his story. I never ask you about philosophy. I ask you specifically, again, maybe I'm going to make it remedial for you so you can understand with your 2-year-old brain. Is there any book like the Bible in prediction, timeline, and what it knows? It's a simple, simple question, bro. If you're remedial and you say you don't know, then just say you don't know so we can shut you up and leave you alone.
someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie to save your life.
How he assumes? Okay.
He's so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life?
How much do you know about me? I didn't lie to save my career. I didn't lie to save my clinical practice.
Would you lie to like save your children, your mom, your dad?
I don't think lying would save them.
Can there ever be a circumstance logically that lying could save someone?
Because he's wanting Jordan to be pigeonholed into his argument. Jordan answered him multiple times, but he has to find a cavity in there to plug Jordan in to say, see, I got you. That's what he's looking for. Watch.
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
There you
I'll
go.
give you an example. If you're like in like
More
Nazi Germany,
examples.
and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic and you're trying to
And they go to the emotion. This is what atheists will do. They plug into your emotion, plug into your sad, plug into, oh my, what about the Jews? What about the time when the mustache man, would you give one of them up? Oh my gosh, think about it. You'd lie, right? Wouldn't you lie? Come on, admit that you'd lie.
protect them. Would you lie to like the Nazis?
I would have done everything I bloody well could, so I wouldn't be in that situation to begin with. It's a hypothetical, and it's not answerable.
Hypotheticals?
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like that because
I can't answer a hypothetical like that. And in any case, he did. He said, I would do everything in my power to never be in that situation. Listen.
Did you eat today?
Look,
Did you eat
don't
today?
play games.
I'm not playing a game. I'm just
Yes,
asking if you
you
ate
are.
it.
If you present me with an intractable moral choice that's stripped of context and you back me into a corner, you're playing game. I just told you
Hypothetical.
I would do everything that I could
Listen.
to make sure that I'm never in that situation. By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany.
You see, and now they pivot again. They pivot again. You're asking me what I would do towards helping a Jew. That has nothing to do with being born in Nazi Germany. You know what other option I have before I even get to defend or try to not let a Nazi person pick out a Jew is to leave Nazi Germany. He just gave you an entire diatribe about it. I would make situations so I never have to make that decision. But they don't listen because they have to prove their point.
Germany in trying to protect people that you care about. Like there could be a Jewish friend that you have and you want to protect them.
I think you should
have
just
them in
give
your
up on
attic.
that line of questioning.
Give up on just like trying to clarify your position? Because
I
you don't
did
like, are you like
clarify.
uncomfortable with me asking this question?
And then they go to the insults. Wait.
It's just a basic hypothetical. Like I could ask you.
It's just a basic
yeah, yeah.
hypothetical
Like,
where you're,
like
you
if you-
put Jews' lives at stake in Nazi Germany. That's just a basic hypothetical.
Obviously, you would lie in that scenario to save their life, but
No, he just told you what he would do. But they have to plant it on you. Y'all block Yunes, please. I don't want nothing to do with that fool no more. Block Yunes. You can unsubscribe to Yunes. Nobody cares about your statements anymore because you're not answering the dang question. If you don't want to answer the question, just say you don't know the answer, man. Just say you don't. But you've had your 4 chances now. You don't want to answer. Block him, please. He's taking up space, valuable space that people who actually want to listen can listen to.
you're like not trying to answer this question for some reason.
I just told you why.
Are you anti-fascist?
You see? What does that have to do with God? What in the world does that have to do with God?
Like, so you're
Why
anti-fascist?
are you asking that?
I was just asking, just clarifying. But like, okay, again, you're not answering this hypothetical because you know it shows that you clearly would lie to save
I'm
someone's life.
answering it in
Obviously,
a
that's
manner
not what
you
truth
don't
is.
find acceptable.
Period.
Obviously, because I care about
you're-
truth.
I wouldn't be in that scenario.
Obviously, right? Logically, because that's
No.
already happened. Like that's in the past. You don't have a time to travel.
He just told you why he wouldn't be in that situation. It has nothing to do with time travel. He said certain things that you do would put you in that scenario. Decisions you make long before that scenario happens will put you in that scenario. And he would do everything in his power to never be in that situation. How is this difficult for them to understand?
Device. We're bringing this logical hypothetical up to show you that in some circumstances that do happen within the real world, you would lie to save people's lives. So your definition of truth isn't actually how we're typically using it. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to muddy the waters. When I ask,
You're the one muddying the water by bringing in something that has nothing to do with the topic. That would be muddying the water.
you like, do you believe this? Do you think this to be true? So you don't actually have to answer the questions. And plenty of Christians don't like that because they clearly see that you don't really like want to be associated with
I can
Christianity. with that
imagine
respect.
that I was in a situation where the best I could do as a consequence of my previous mistakes was to tell the least amount of lie I could manage. But that would likely indicate that I had made all sorts of catastrophic errors on my way there.
So
Right.
you would lie to save.
And he still doesn't get it. When I tell you Parker doesn't have 2 brain cells to rub together, I mean it. And this is why I tell you, debating with an atheist is like talking to a blooming rock. They are some of the stupidest people on God's green earth. When I say that, I really do mean it. I'm not being hyperbolic. Atheists are the stupidest human beings ever to be born. They are dumb. They're logically fallacy. They cannot think through a logical thought. They can't do it. The man just told you 15 different ways from Sunday. If I am in that place where I have to tell the least amount of lies, by that point, I've probably already made multiple mistakes that I could have avoided. How is this hard to understand is beyond me.
Save someone's life. So again, you do believe it to be true in that circumstance, even though you like lied in that scenario. So
Not
clearly that's
without
what
the
you see to be true.
context that I put it in.
You were not willing to
I
die for it. You
said-
were not willing to let other people die for it. So that's not what you see to be true then, seemingly.
You're doing exactly what I said you were doing at
Yeah,
the
he is.
beginning of the conversation. You're generating an impossible, restricted, hypothetical
Mhm.
with no precursors to back me into a
How is
corner.
it possible? Is there something contradictory about it?
And the last one.
Hey, Dr. Peterson.
How you doing?
Danny, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Danny.
Danny.
You're saying atheists worship things or people or places, whatever. Can you be very clear about your definition of worship again?
Attend to, prioritize, and sacrifice for.
Now, this is where they catch Jordan. This is where they catch Jordan. But they don't catch Jordan from the aspect of catching him because he's a poor Christian. They catch Jordan by assuming he is one, and they ask questions based on what he should be doing because they've conflated Christianity with Catholicism. So I don't think they got Jordan in any kind of gotcha moment. I think the world doesn't understand Christianity, and this 20v1 had nothing to do at all with Christianity. It had to do with a Catholic being brought in to talk to people who don't believe in God. Not a Christian, a Catholic, or one at least within the realm of Catholicism. A lot of the Christians jumping on Jordan seem to have something conflated too. He is not a Christian, nor are Catholics, which is why when the world conflates them, we can't go based on what they believe about Christianity. There's not a gotcha moment for Christians anywhere because he's not a representative of Christianity.
Okay, that's it. That's your understanding of worship.
Well, I could flesh it out, but that'll do for the time we have.
Okay, do Catholics attend to Mary?
See the question? You see the question? Do Catholics attend to Mary? Now, if Jordan was a Christian, you know what he'd say? I don't know. I'm not a Catholic. I'm a Christian. Well, why are you asking me stuff about Catholicism? Because they believe Catholic and Christian are the same word. Catholic, Christian, same word.
Yes,
Okay, so do they fit that description of worship?
yes.
So you would say Catholics and other people that revere Mary, like the Eastern Orthodox tradition, worship Mary.
Well, they might not put her in the highest
But you would
place.
put it that way.
No.
You just said it. No, you're
No,
taking,
no. Your question was, and this is what they do. Your question was Catholics. Catholics. Big difference. You asked if Catholics believe that. You didn't ask if Jordan did, because you assume he's a Catholic because of how he speaks about God. All right, cool.
taking it back
There's
now?
still a hierarchy.
Okay, there's a hierarchy, but
Catholic-
within
Catholicism,
the
There's
low,
something at the top.
all right, you can worship things
Mary
below.
is quite a ways up the hierarchy, but
Do-
not at the top.
Let's go over your definition of worship again. What's your definition of worship?
Attend to,
Attend to. Do
prioritize, and
Catholics
sacrifice for.
Catholics attend to? Do they prioritize Mary over all other human beings?
No, I didn't say overall.
Again, they like to conflate. They like to conflate. They love that. They love to add. They love to put stuff on you that you didn't say. Okay? Listen, I'm not here to talk to stupid atheists. I really am not here to speak to you. I've already said this before. I have no time for an atheist. You believe what you believe. Stick to what you don't believe. It's that easy. I'm not here to convince you about God. Did I invite an atheist here? Did I invite you? Did I invite you? If you don't believe it, then don't believe it, bro. I'm not begging you to believe nothing. I don't care if you believe or not. That's on you. I'm not here to convince you. I am convinced. I never once said, hey, let me pick out this dude, Mentis Peace, and tell him, I want you to believe. I never asked you to believe this. Y'all are the fools that keep asking us stuff just not to believe it. You keep begging us to think like you. We don't do the same. We don't beg you to believe like us. Why are you so enamored with us believing like you? Why can't you just let us be us and believe what we believe? Why is it so much for you to have to convince me of something? What is your fascination with making me believe? Or sorry, not believe? Do you? Do you, boo-boo? Nobody in this room is asking, begging you to believe in God. Okay, you don't believe in God. What, you want a rose? You want a care package? You want some candy? Maybe a cup of coffee? A Starbucks gift card? What do you want? You want a round of applause? Okay, here. Here's your round of applause. You don't believe in God. Good for you. Man, you're on something. You feel better? You feel better about yourself now? You don't believe in God, and you're in a Christian podcast asking people to not believe in the person they put their whole life investment in. What you need? You need some accolades? You need me to put you at the top of the list for subscribers? What you want me to do for you? What do you need me to do? What would make you so happy? If I just said I denounce God, will that make you happy? It's not going to happen, by the way. If you don't, that's what you want for me to denounce God? What if I am crazy? What if I'm mentally off and I just want to believe a book? You're gonna feel impressed with yourself if you make me believe what your statement is? You're gonna be that happy with yourself? Y'all are weird. Y'all are really, really weird. For something that doesn't exist, you sure waste a lot of time with it. Y'all are some of the craziest human beings on earth. You don't believe it. You don't believe it, but you tell everybody else about it because you just have to talk about something that's not real. Insane stuff, man. Y'all are mentally midgets.
Did I? I didn't
Well,
add that to my definition.
You understand.
I said there was a hierarchy as well.
You attend the
So you can attend to something trivially, or you can attend to it deeply.
And now you're adding stuff to the definition.
He's not adding nothing. You were the one that added whole things to him, but you won't admit your end. He said in his definitions, when you started going off, it's a hierarchy. And you cut him off because you didn't want to hear that.
But your original
I
definition.
added the hierarchy part at the beginning.
Are you
just
familiar?
didn't understand it.
Are you familiar with the Immaculate Conception?
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure.
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
Somewhat.
Okay. You're
Their
familiar.
doctrine-
You notice that Jordan has not hedged himself in as a Catholic. He's not hedged himself as a Christian because Jordan is still searching. But he's going along the wrong path by going into Catholicism. And he is right that the Catholic Church, not Christianity, the Catholic Church has a hierarchy. And Mary is almost all the way up there. He didn't say Christianity, Catholicism. Catholicism. Big difference. I wish we would stop conflating the two.
How do they regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh,
See? Statement made. Now watch what happens. That's going to prove my point about what the world believes and how they conflate. You ready for this? Watch.
what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
And this is where they thought he lost. This is where they thought Jordan lost. But if you listen to them, they have already conflated Christianity with Catholicism. Neither of the two did Jordan ever espouse he was. But because he is leaning more towards learning about Catholicism, this panel was brought together to do one thing and one thing only. Take somebody whose real emphasis and knowledge is in psychology, take the idea of Catholicism, brand it on Christianity to make Christianity look like nothing. The unfortunate part, many Christians fell for it. Many did.
Well,
And I mean,
either you're a
'cause I
Christian
won't
or you're
talk
not.
to you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell
could be.
you.
You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression, I
private.
was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video,
You're really quite something. You are.
aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
And that is how they normally end. Which is why I never give them the time of day. See, I get to that point before they do. I get to that point before they do. Jordan is a psychologist and a brainiac. He has very vast knowledge of how humans operate. He does. He can break down humans to a microcosm of who they are. He can do that. He can finagle your mind into every direction he wants to and figure you out psychologically. He can figure out if you have trauma and how to get you past trauma psychologically. Jordan is still searching spiritually for a resting spot. Unfortunately for Jordan, the majority of his research has brought him to a thing that will be more akin to what he knows, which is Catholicism. It leans heavily on knowledge. It is why people like Candace Owens also goes for Catholicism, because it's easy. You can use your mind to get into Catholicism. Christianity requires the removal of all things that link you to you. It requires you seeing yourself as the complete opposite of what Jordan is, intellectual, worth something. It causes you, means for you to let go of self and see what you really are before the ever-living God, which is nothing. Every other religion requires you to be something and something more before God. You are nothing before God, but you are everything after. That is the beauty of it, which is why an atheist will never, because the reason they don't believe in God is because they have put themselves in the position of God, period. And to think themselves as nothing is almost impossible. It is too harsh, too hard for them. They don't want that. Jordan might still be searching. Jordan is still searching heavily right now. Unfortunately for him, like I said, he's going down the one path that he seems intellectually leaning to, which is Catholicism. And it's easy to go into that because it can make sense to him. But just like his original thing, his mind is in conflict with what he knows already about God and the requirements of what he's read, which is why he can't commit his brain. As much as it's a fight, it's also letting him know that he can't commit to that fully yet, because he has not fought that battle and gotten an answer from it. He has not done that yet. If the Bible is so divinely perfect, why has it needed endless? It has not had endless interpretations. And it doesn't need endless interpretations. And it does not have endless rewrites. And it does not have endless denominations. Again, if y'all don't understand the Bible, just say you don't do, just say you are the one person, just like the rest of them, that have heard people say something and you have no concept what the Bible says. Just tell me you don't know what the Bible says. Just say it. You don't know the Bible. You have zero clue what the Bible says. Just tell me that, because I can buy that based on your statement. Please tell me why it is that they tear each other apart, what it means. Please tell me why. Why do you think people tear each other up over the meaning of the Bible? Please remember the question, okay? Just answer my question. Just answer my question. What causes them to tear each other up? I'll wait for your specific answer. What causes them? No. Answer my question. What causes mankind to disagree and tear each other up over it? What causes that? I'll wait for you. That's the only answer I'm looking for. That's the only question I asked. You got one shot. One shot. Consider yourself Eminem at this point. in 8 Mile. You only got one chance to blow. Do not miss your opportunity. It comes once in a lifetime. You don't lose yourself, though. Don't lose yourself. Answer my question. What causes it? Good. Then believe what you believe. Ain't nobody asking you to believe the Bible. Case closed. There you go. Now, question. Answer it. No answer? You got 1 more minute. You have 1 minute. You seem really good to be able to, you can tap really quick when it's your response. But to answer my question, you don't seem to want to actually tap very quickly. I said the question was, what causes people to do it? You're not answering my question. So you don't know how to answer a question is what you're telling me. I asked what causes people to do it. You said exactly, people. If the Bible were truly crystal clear and divinely authored, why would humans mess it up so badly? Are you stupid? Are you really this? Again, I know what, I'm answering my own question. Of course you're an idiot. Of course you're an idiot. Because I have no time for atheists. You don't believe in God. Why do you need an answer? He doesn't exist. Yeah, he did tell me to shake the dust off my feet. You're dust at this point. If you don't believe in God, why am I talking to you? Answer me that question, Yassine. Abadaba dooby doo, Mr. Towelhead. Answer my question. What is it about God you don't believe? If you don't believe in God, why am I talking to you? Answer. Why am I going to talk to you if you don't believe in God? No, I don't need to debate. There's nothing to debate. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in God. Why am I debating you? For the sake of talking to some dummy? I wouldn't do that. That's a waste of time. I don't want to talk to stupid people and become stupid like you. No, I'm good. I don't need to waste my time with dregs. I don't have to. I'm not going to. You don't believe in God, then move on your way, buddy. Go live your life the way you want. Nobody is begging you to believe in God. If you don't, you don't. You're so happy. If you're so happy not believing in God, why are you so concerned about me? I'm happy too. I am happy believing in God the same way you happy not believing in God. We can go our separate ways. There's no need for us to debate. Literally no reason. You know why there's no reason? Because after all of this is said and done, we both gonna die. One of us will be right. One of us will be wrong. If you're right, I lose nothing. If I'm right, you lose everything. So it doesn't matter, right? Do you? Do you? Y'all can say everything you can and want to about God, but when I react to you, it's a problem? Let me get this right. Let me get this right. You can say anything you want about Christians, about God. But when a Christian slaps you across the fence, all of a sudden is what a reaction. You sissy. You can't take a normal man answer? Huh, little femboy, you can't take an answer. You can dish it, but you can't take it. Y'all spend your whole life talking ill about my God, but when I come back double-fisted and absolutely clock you across the jaw, all of a sudden I'm the bad guy. When I return like Mike Tyson in the first round and knock you out in the first, you get mad at me for swinging fists, but you can throw bombs and lob them all day. That ain't here, buddy. That ain't here. That ain't here. You don't get to control that part of it. Y'all have run a narrative for a long time and say what you want to say. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And I'm going to stand on it too. You want to burn, feel free to burn. That's not my concern because you've chosen that, right? Cool. Choose it, stand on business. Stand on your own 2 feet. You've chosen this, right? This is what you believe. You've walked this down the road. You believe it. Perfect. Stay there. Stay there. Nobody's begging you to leave. If you don't want God, fine. Okay, we heard you the first 15 million times you said it. You don't want God. What do you want me to do about that? You've made up your mind, buddy. How is this difficult? How is this difficult? You clowns are always the first to give your opinion when nobody asks for it. You want to lambaste God at every turn. Talk down about Christians, but expect us to be this, I love you. No. I have the same energy for you that you got for me. You don't want God, right? Perfect. If you don't want God, deal with yourself. Nobody's begging you to follow God. Nobody's begging you. Not even God himself is begging you. God, to the point where he don't even have that kind of energy, will tell you, whoever is to hear, let him hear. If you reject it, you reject it. It's that simple. He ain't gonna contend forever either. You too, Alex. Nobody's asking you. Good. If he's okay, so, cool. He's overrated. Good. Okay, fine. And what's your point? I still believe him. What now? Would you think by stating what you believe is going to change my mind? What's your point? I don't get your point. Okay, he's overrated. And you like your life, right, buddy? Enjoy it. I have never seen a group of people go somewhere where they're not wanted so often. You're all like parasites. You really are like parasites. Nobody wants you. Like mosquitoes in summertime. Nobody wants you around. We wear repellent all day long, but you still come buzzing around. If they don't want you around, why do you keep going around people that don't want to hear from you? Do you see us coming to atheist podcasts to talk to you? No, we don't, because we don't need to talk to you. You chose in your place. Be happy. Aren't you happy? You seen? Are you not happy? Are you not stoked to not believe in this fairy tale? If you are so happy, then go be happy in your corner, buddy. Nobody's coming to your corner to make your life unhappy. But you seem you just like going out into everybody else's sphere where you're not wanted. Nobody called for you. Nobody asked your name. You're just showing up. You're like a zit at puberty. Nobody wants you around because you don't want the person that we're talking about. Okay, good. You don't want him. Okay, good. How is this difficult? Just go do you. In any case, they come out of the woodworks, especially when you talk about their father, in case people wonder. And I think people might wonder why I address them the way I do. And I'll tell you why. If you're new to the platform, you might wonder why I go off the way I do. Because I am sick and tired. And I know God don't need nobody to defend him. But I, myself, have a lot that was forgiven of me. And for me, I will fight back. You don't have to. I'm not saying every Christian has to be like me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm speaking for me. I'm speaking for me. I am not approaching this like regular Christians. I'm not. If you are of the ilk that can speak ill about God all you want, but get mad when I talk back to you in the same manner, you are a feminized male or a butch woman. Something is wrong with you, and you need to leave this space. It is not that I can't answer, Alex. It's that you're worthless to me, and I don't have an answer to give you. Nothing of my answer will justify your mind. You don't want my answer. You don't want my answer. So I'm not giving you one. You're here to be contentious, and I'm not willing to give you the time of day like that. None of my answers will please you, will make you feel better, will convince you. So why am I talking to you? There's no purpose in talking to you. I'm not here to convince you. You believe what you believe about God. Good. Stay there. Stay there. You're not happy there? You are so discontented with your lot that you want to run from it and try and find into yourself in the. If you're that discontent, then come talk to me. Honestly, but I know you're not. You're happy to be where you are, right? So stay there. Stay there. I have no desire to speak to brick walls. None. None. I do not need to address you in any sort of respectful way either. No, no, no. You were disrespectful to one person. I will not tolerate that to. Who were you disrespectful to? Please tell me who you were disrespectful to that caused me to go off on you. Please tell me, Alex. Who was it? Who were you disrespectful to? And then I will explain to you why I am yet to really let you offload on you yet. I still have yet to offload on you. So please tell me, who were you disrespectful to when you came into this podcast? Who was the first person you went after? Who? No. Listen, dummy. Who was the first person that you went after when you came in here? I know it's very difficult for you clowns to answer questions. Who was the first person you went after when you came in here today? Who? Who? Oh, now your fingers don't work? Your fingers stop working? Figured as much. Moron. In any case, if you're an atheist watching this podcast, I am not here to convince you of diddly squat. I am not. You love where you are. Stay where you are. You don't want to follow God, then don't follow God. You don't want God, then don't want God. You've made up your mind? Perfect. That's your mind made up. You are convinced? Perfect. Then you are convinced. Because each one has to be convinced in his own mind. You have been? Perfect. I don't need to help unconvince you. I am convinced. You are convinced. Perfect. Two shall never meet. End of story. I'm not here to debate an atheist or someone who hates God. If you hate God, hate him till the day you die and keep that same energy when you stand up in front of him. That's all. I want to see you puff your chest out and have it knocked all the way back through your spine when you do it. That's what I'm waiting to see. All that bravado, we're going to go up in smoke. But feel free to do you now. That's new. But for those of you like Jordan that are searching and are unsure and have not been committed fully to whether he is here or not here, we can have a discussion. For those of you who are unsure of if God exists and you want to know why I'm so passionate about who I serve, we can have a discussion. Please block Alex if you guys don't mind. Thank you. If you're out there and you're in Jordan's place, you're intellectual, you want to know something, but it's tough, this is the place for you. But if you've already made up your mind and there is no convincing you, then there's no convincing you. There's no convincing you. For the rest of you, I appreciate your time. And I do get that this platform is not for everybody. It's not. This isn't your calm, docile. We defend God around here. And I mean what we defend him viciously. We go back to Old Testament defense of where we'll pick up swords and shields to defend him. Here's where we'll do that. And I got no problem having casualties of war. I have no problem piling it up. Bodies, not a problem for me. Love you guys anyway. Mean it. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself in no way.